Welcome back, it's another week of Warcraft news, and as you've probably seen in the thumbnail, it's a pretty big one because John Hight is actually leaving the team after 12 years. Blizzard have decided to double rewards for Remix. Season of Discovery has got huge lore teases that are pretty awesome. Broxigar, come on! So that's cool. So you know what? Let's hop in and see how all of this has went down. First off, the story of John Hight leaving. So if you're not familiar, he's actually been the face of WoW from the very big leadership sort of position for a long time, alongside Ian. He was the general manager of the Warcraft franchise, and he would basically always go on about those big ambitions about Warcraft as an IP, including outside of World of Warcraft. That started with Rumble, and man, at some point I'll have to talk about Rumble, because man, that game loves asking you for money. Whew. But it does seem they actually do have plans beyond that. He also did things like seek out the best partners to handle other projects, while Blizzard focused on games and that sort of thing. A lot of top-level management that realistically as players we didn't really see. Now his departure seems to be fairly run-of-the-mill. He says he's moving on to a new quest. He hasn't said exactly what it is. Maybe he's been poached by Dreamhaven, maybe he's just taking a break, but it does seem he's staying within games. What's striking to me though is how much of this is not a surprise actually. I was not surprised at all when I saw it. John has been appearing less and less in things, and Holly has very obviously taken on that role, right? The sort of spotlight as leading this franchise, you know, on stage, on video, in interviews and that sort of thing. My personal take is that often in very important job titles like this, there's generally a succession plan, and whenever somebody leaves, they actually do plan that for quite a bit of time. So the idea that Holly's been taking a bit more prominence and eventually is going to essentially be doing what his job was, that is absolutely not surprising to me. And certainly, at least from my experience, meeting her and actually doing an interview, she's willing to take L's and actually talk about things in a pretty real way, which is certainly appreciated. Now, of course, there's the lingering question. What does this mean for World of Warcraft? Does it spell the end of larger franchise plans, right? Were we going to get a movie, a TV show, an action game spin-off, Warcraft the Roar, and Thrall and Friends as a children's cartoon? Who the hell knows, right? But they did have those larger plans. I do not think that anything would have really changed there. This does in every way look to be a pretty regular job move to me, especially because there is somebody already ready to take that role on from a public perspective. And that just tells me that it was planned and that they managed it. Now, if you're still concerned or at least interested in what the bigger picture could be, number one, I imagine they want to see how well the World Soul Saga stuff actually does. They are getting some marketing cut through with a character like Xal'atath, so that does seem to be going fairly well. Tonally, their marketing is very much, you are all going to just be killed and I'm going to win, which feels a little bit more Warcraft. And then, of course, there was World of Warcraft having a pretty notable part of the showcase for Xbox. That, to me, is kind of interesting, because later on, they did the Xbox podcast thing, which usually is reserved for Halo and Microsoft things, but of course now WoW is a Microsoft thing. And in the comments for the Xbox podcast, do you know what it was? It was people saying, put WoW in Game Pass, put it on console, we'd actually want to play this, put it on console. So who knows? Microsoft have been pretty damn ruthless with the cutting of jobs, but the one through line for all of that is they've been doubling down investment on things that seem like safe bets. I think Warcraft is one of those things. Only time will tell. Let's move on to in-game news, where if you haven't bothered grinding out bronze and remix, congratulations, you are the lucky winner. Blizzard hotfixed in a global buff that doubles bronze from caches, so lots of bronze, and it also triples the threads you get from spools. Now, of course, those spools are from the daily dungeon and raid queue bonuses and the quests. That'll be fairly massive, and there's also a 700% buff to the Xiaohao reputation. Even take the thread thing, yes, that will get you way more power, but also those threads can get you XP. So even if you are doing that big alt strategy that I had in our video where you're basically doing the LFRs daily, oh man, you're getting triple the threads, so your XP bonus is going to be absolutely gargantuan. And that means you can put on some Eurobeat, get in the zone, and get rewards fast. Actually, using the daily strategy outlined here by Jordan at Lo-Fi Banshee and X, you can actually finish the event by getting all of the exclusive cosmetics in just 9 days with about an hour of work every day. Well, not work, video game. And of course it goes without saying that you can totally complete the event in far less time. And in fact, when announcing this, Blizzard said that, well, they realized that people were just feeling bad because, yeah, there's completing the event and getting all the cool cosmetics, but then you want to upgrade your gear so you can be powerful and have fun. These things took away from each other, and they essentially said that they wanted to do a decrease to the upgrade costs, right? And then like refund it back to people. But technical issues meant they couldn't do that. So that's why they've basically just done this. And well, basically they've used inflation to get around the problem. So there's a lot of really funny historical jokes I could do there. But anyway, it does mean if you put in a few extra raid runs on the weekend, you'll be swimming in bronze to get all the rewards. And in a way, it is reminiscent of what they did with Plunderstorm, just that this time it's happening only a third into the event and not in the final stretch. So yeah, more rewards for everybody. I'm not going to say expect this with every single event that they do and then behave accordingly, but I suppose, as they say, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. I should also say, with how they communicated this, they basically said, we'll keep all this stuff in mind next time, and they signed off the WoW Remix team. I mean, obviously there's going to be more remix. I think we can all say, while the bag may have been fumbled a little bit with this one, they have learned a great many lessons. Probably means the next remix they do will be, even better. As much as this one has had problems, personally, gallivanting about Pandaria, having a bunch of busted gems on me, that's actually been pretty neat. Our next story then is a funny one because Season 4 broke. It just broke. On Wednesday, people logged in and they found out that the upgrade vendors weren't working, and there were no awakened raids or dungeons. Like, yeah, they just weren't there in the UI. They were gone. Like, really, they weren't there in the UI. They just floated away. Anyhow, a hotfix did quickly resolve this, but it led to some funny tweets. It's not a big story, but come on, the idea that just you log in and the season isn't there, it's kind of funny. Next then, if you're not in the beta, you may not have noticed that your Battle.net client actually updated with something new, a War Within public test realm. And that is for the Warband test. So Blizzard posted saying that they're going to be doing a large-scale test of the Warband conversion using real data. So what they've done is they've opened up PTR servers that you can copy your character onto, but you can't actually do anything else. You can't play. What they basically want is people to load in real data, and then once Monday hits, they will open up basically the pre-patch content, things like Radiant Echoes, class and systems changes, and then you will actually be able to play that PTR and see what the pre-patch experience is like. But of course, what they want here is to get everybody's character over so that they can test if achievements, reputations, items, appearances, currencies, and all of those things properly merge into the Warband system. So that they are doing a large-scale test of that is certainly a heartening thing in my book. In other news then for the beta, the Hunter changes are finally in. We did a video, so you can check that out. We published it yesterday. But the short version here is they have made a lot of strong iterative improvements to the talent trees and how each spec plays. It still does have weaknesses in some aspects of utility, and this is not the total rework that I think many people wanted. But again, the Hunter fantasy is a very tricky thing for them to nail down, and it kind of has been for the game's whole history. Anyway, next, Season of Discovery. Remember it? I mean, with all of the WoW that's been going on, it's been easy to forget about Season of Discovery. Here's the deal. Phase 4 has been announced. Level 60 is the cap, levels 1 through 50 have a 150% XP buff, and the last 10 levels a bonus 50%. There are new cloak and ring runes, some of which are actually class-agnostic utility like stat bonuses, as well as a whole bunch of updates to endgame content like the Argent, Thorium, Hydraxian, Waterlord's Rep, and Timbermaw. Molten Core then is going to be the raid, but it's 20-man with redesigned tier sets and, quote, a new variable difficulty mechanic. And actually, a big surprise. They've added a whole test raid boss called Test Work in a new instance that is called the Searing Basin, which is kind of interesting, and they're putting world bosses in instances instead of the actual world. Now, that's an interesting thing. That's an interesting thing, because you could see that and think, man, that kind of blows. That being said, I do remember really liking bosses like Sartharion in Wrath of the Lich King, and I thought it was kind of cool that you could have, and even Onyxia in Wrath of the Lich King. So I thought it was pretty cool in those times that it wasn't like a modern world boss that just gets zerged by 500 billion players. No, actually, if you're doing Sartharion, it's a raid and you can die. I don't know, I just think that meant the bosses actually shined a little bit more. Anyway, to move on, there is going to be a new event, and that event is called Blackrock Eruption. Okay, so look, I get it. Like, there's been, some people have wandered away from Season of Discovery. That's natural. Other things have happened. What better way to take Blackrock Mountain that we all know from Warcraft and make it erupt? So, yeah, I don't really know how they'll do that, but it's a pretty cool theme for an event. Now, there's also a ton of class changes, but the thing that I think over here me and the guys are very intrigued by, is data mining, because there's an axe that isn't quite the axe of Cenarius, but it does look to be a good approximation, and that has sparked off a ton of debate of if it should have been like an arms warrior artifact weapon. I think it probably should have been. Imagine if Broxigar was like arms warrior in Legion, but anyway, yeah, it does seem that you might actually have like one of the all-time like coolest dudes in Warcraft lore. You might actually just get his axe, which is cool. The story of Broxigar the Red is pretty sick. He's the only mortal who managed to wound Sargeras, and basically his story is he just went so goddamn hard. He just went hard. He knew he was gonna die, but he said, you know what? Fuck you, big god creature, and he just went for a bash. So good on you, Broxigar. And pretty exciting as axe appearing in the game. Now, also, there is a quest item to start the data mined but not finished Ashbringer quest chain. Probably. Maybe. Season of Discovery, there's a lot of mysteries. But earning Ashbringer as part of like an all-new Scarlet Monastery raid tier? Sign me up. It does look like they're actually brewing up more than ever with Phase 4. So yeah, like between all that's going on in Modern, War Within actually being in almost no time, like pre-patch is going to be like in a month and a bit. There's Cataclassic, which, I mean, I know is not massive. And then there's also Season's Discovery. There's like a hell of a lot of WoW to keep up with. Anyway, over in the beta, we've had access to Delves testing as well as Raid and Mythic Plus testing. Now, me and the team have not got a massive amount of time to do these just at the time of me doing this episode of the WoW News, but we'll be chatting about it on our Friday night stream, which happened yesterday. Production schedules. Anyway, we'll put a whole bunch into that, and there'll be plenty in our clips channel throughout next week based on that testing experience. With that then, this has been the World of Warcraft news. You are now up to date with everything that is going on, so go ahead and enjoy your Saturday, and don't forget to copy a few characters over to the PTR, because I'm sure the WoW team would appreciate that. And of course, we have many videos on the channel. If you would like to know about the Hunter rework, if you'd like to know about the dungeon changes that are happening with affixes, as well as a whole bunch of lore, well, you can check those out. Anyway, have a great day, thanks for watching, and I'll see you over there.